Well, yes, I agree. It is weird not having music. Um, Even if it's just to keep the voices at bay. No, even if it's just to have some sound. Like that's it. That's why that's why the music is kind of a necessity. Um, which sucks, but it is what it is. Um, it's funny because I feel like when I listen to a normal podcast, I really don't want music. I want just the voices. Um, but then for something like this, maybe it's because it's live. I think it's a live thing. Without the music, it seems wrong. But yeah, anyway. So, um let's see. Quickly skimming over chat, seeing what else. Um can't be a live stream without some typos. Agreed. It's just the way of it. Um but let's see. Feels like I'm here in the home with you. Who says I'm not? I might be right outside your window. I just have the green screen set up behind me. Like you can't tell. You don't know. Anyway, that that went creepy. So let's see. Like I said, there's surprisingly little. Um, Cody's on the GTVs. Uh, so there was surprisingly little to talk about this week. I really scoured a lot of news trying to find anything that was worth talking about. Um, I'm just gonna say it up front. There are a total of, I guess you could say five things here, but two of them are quick mentions. So, it's literally just gonna be like it, briefly acknowledge and then move on. The first of those, it just has to be um, the Neo. The reviews have hit. Just for example, here's The Verge saying the Mac for the masses, and generally speaking, if you skim over this, it's very positive. They acknowledge there are a few things, and I honestly, the one thing that I think has to just be the biggest problem is that 8 gig of RAM. Um, they kind of they kind of acknowledge that it's not that big of a deal if you're using it for the right stuff. That's what Corbin and I said. Um, yeah, a few hours later, Fiend. It's true. I was even going to make that same comment, and I've spaced it. But yeah, yeah, you never know. The show got its name for a reason. But yeah, 8 gig of RAM. Let's be honest. That's the thing that's going to be bad about this piece of hardware. It should have been 12. I get why it's not, but it should have been 12. Um, so you know what we need to do? We need to start taking bets on Kalshi about how long the RambleCast is going to last each week. um, and I swear I won't totally be watching the clock as I stream. I promise, not at all. Wink. Anyway, um, so yeah, I'm sorry, but the 8 gig RAM, this is going to be the limiting factor on this hardware. We were saying it last time. It's the inevitable thing. Uh, yeah, yeah. I sure do. With some kitty cats. Um, hey, they are little heat generators. That much is a fact. But yeah. So anyway, um, aside from that, they mentioned the same things that we also touched on last week. Slow storage, no backlit keyboard, um, and only 20-watt charging. Yeah, that's those are all the issues that we hit. Otherwise, yeah, it's a great screen. Um, by most accounts, the trackpad is pretty good, even if it is going to be mechanical. Um, Speakers, they're good, and again, like this is a really incredible price. Um, 8 gig is isn't enough for iPhone apparently. Unreasonable for it to be enough for a Mac. Um, sure, it'll be fine, but only just fine. I mean, strictly speaking, 8 gig was fine for iPhone, at least somewhat. But yeah, honestly, I don't. That's the thing I kind of don't get is if it's good enough for an iPhone, that doesn't mean it's good enough for the Mac. Mac OS is a bigger operating system. It does more. There's stuff happening here that just it doesn't make sense to lay all of that on an iPhone chip with just 8 gigs of RAM. I don't buy that this is a good story here, at least in terms of future. Um, Today, sure, you can probably run macOS reasonably well on 8 gigs. Honestly, like that's actually believable. Again, we're not talking about all the software you might want to run. It certainly isn't going to do well if you're running macOS plus Photoshop plus Chrome. But okay, that's a reasonable limiting factor. Um, Things start getting a lot uglier when you start talking about what is macOS going to look like in say 3 years. I'm sure Apple has some idea of that, but they might not have a lot of idea of that. And if they're selling basically new hardware today that might not be able to run a really crucial feature of macOS in say 2 to 3 years, that's going to look really bad. I don't I don't think they should have been so eager to ship this. But hey, I won't deny the reviews are positive. I mean, you know, Engadget, they came right out and said it's putting every $600 Windows PC to shame. And yeah, I mean, they're right. 8 gigs of RAM doesn't feel like 8 gigs of RAM, except it will when it does. And I know that's a bit of a Taoism, but yeah, it's going to be good right up until it isn't. And when you hit a wall with 8 gigs of RAM, you hit it hard. Like, this isn't going to be a lightweight, oops, hey, it's not running at like top speeds. No, this is going to be the, oh, wow. Yeah, now we're stuck because a single app literally just needs all the remaining RAM that doesn't go to the OS, and you just can't swap in and out whole huge chunks of memory that effectively. Um, let's see. Alyssa, wonder if A18 Pro was the limiting factor, only supporting 8 gigs of RAM max. Yes, it absolutely is. Um, I don't know if you were watching at the time, but last week I pulled up I think it was a Wikipedia page. I might be wrong. Maybe it was somewhere else, but it had the specs, and yeah, it just came right out and said the A18 and A18 Pro are only 8 gig chips. Period. That's it. They do not have a higher RAM ceiling. And they're designed that way. Like, that's it. They cap at 8 gigs. So, yeah. In order to use this chip, they could not put in more RAM. Period. There was no exceptions, no ifs, ands, or buts. It was 8 gig or bust. So, yeah. That's 100% the limiting factor. That's why there's no configurable options. That's why this is 8 gigs, not more, not less. It's because that's what that chip supports, and it's There were no other options. Um, let's see. Hoopy. The thing that makes it weird to me is the new monitor has the 819 Pro with 12 gigs, which would completely eliminate this topic if it was in the Neo 2. Yep. Yep. That's entirely true. Um, See, what's funny to me is we're not that far away from something like the uh oh the what's it called? The HomePod. It took me way too long to get to that. The HomePod has an iPhone chip in it, or I think it did. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe it was a Apple Watch chip, but I wouldn't be surprised if not in the too distant future there's a HomePod with a better chip in it than this laptop. And if that happens, that's gonna look real bad. But hey, we'll see. Maybe that day won't have to come too readily. But still, it really doesn't matter what the other hardware has. What matters is at some point Apple is going to be advertising a lot of stuff, and there's going to be a little asterisk next to everything saying not going to be on the Neo or only on supported hardware. And that supported hardware list will conveniently be a whole bunch of other Macs, but not the Neo. That I think is going to be the downfall of this laptop. Is it looks really good now, it sounds really good now, but there's going to be a ton of Apple Intelligence features that will never appear on this laptop. There are a ton of probably functional features that we're talking like different desktop features and layouts that may not really work on this, just because that shared memory model where that 8 gigs of RAM is also being shared with the video, or with the GPU, there's a decent chance that is also going to become a limiting factor on various other functional things. Because after all, if a specific feature starts using too much RAM, you won't have space to run the operating system that feature that is RAM hungry plus apps. And you could kind of get away with that on an iPhone by faking it. You can't get away with that on Mac OS. It just isn't going to work. So we'll see. Alyssa, wonder if they'll update it with A20 Pro or A21 Pro and it'll have 16 gigs of RAM. No. I mean, yes, eventually someday there will be a Neo that has, assuming the Neo line sticks around long enough, there will be a Neo that has 16 gigs of RAM. I don't know what chip it'll be on, but I think the Neo's next step is going to be 12. They're going to slow walk this thing as much as possible because it has to have differentiation between a MacBook Air. And that key differentiator is going to almost guaranteed be RAM. Like almost everything else, they seem to be keeping kind of the same as the Air, or close enough. If the thing that they can lowball on is specs, then it's going to be the RAM. So they'll go to 12. Mark my words. This is my prediction right now. They're going to keep lowballing the Neo, and in doing so, they'll have to stick to 12. Plus, if you pay attention to a lot of the iPhone chips, maybe this isn't still true, but I really haven't been paying attention to the recent chips. But in the past, iPhone and iPad chips were literally just like inching the RAM up by like a gig at a time. So it wouldn't be surprising at all if they went even half steps. I don't think this will happen, but it's not impossible that they might even pop up one day and be like, you know what? We're going to come out with the Neo 2 and it's going to have 10 gigs or something, which, look, that's a 20%, or no, sorry, 25% increase. That makes a big difference. It actually would. Like, bumping it to 10 gigs on a new chip would actually matter. Will they do it? I don't know. Maybe. I doubt it, actually. I think they'll go to 12. But we'll see. The new Apple TV 4K and new HomePod are due later this year alongside Gemini-powered Siri. Yeah, we'll see what those have in them. They could be interesting devices. And Hoopy, I imagine this is going to get the iPad Air mini treatment of basically never getting hardware revved and only given an SoC update once every few years. Yeah, 100%. And I made that comparison last week, or at least I intended to. I don't know that I said it. It's going to be just like the iPhone, I believe it was E models or whatever they were. SE. Sorry, it was SE models. The SE models came out every 3 years or something. They lived on a cycle that was just far enough apart that somebody who had really worn that phone down to its nub desperately wanted their update. Like, they wanted that refresh. But they didn't come out with models in between those years. And I think that's how the Neo is going to be too. We are not going to hear about another Neo until probably 2029 would be my guess. I think it's going to be an every 3-year product. Maybe it gets every 2 years, but I don't think so. Every 2.5 could happen. 2.5 actually would be somewhat plausible. But I feel like they're going to... The only problem with doing 2.5 is at some point that could stumble into the territory of a particular iPhone chip might not be ideal for it. But you never know. Anyway, let's see. So, Alyssa, yeah, DDR5 on desktop is 32 gig minimum for most kits. By the time the Neo refresh comes out, DDR6 RAM will hit desktop PCs. Will it? Will it? We might be stuck in a DDR5 for a prolonged period of time, given the way things are going. But you can see 48 gig sticks being the minimum once DDR6 adoption happens. I would not make bets on that. I think we're gonna see some drought with RAM for quite a while. But you never know. I am reluctant to get too I'm reluctant to prognosticate too many things in that space because things can happen real quick. You're still totally certain that a large portion of these A18s are just recycled from iPhones, and we'll see a chip refresh around the same time Apple released a big iPhone redesign farm refurbs. That's interesting. So literally the idea being that these are chips that came from used iPhones. I could be wrong, but I think legally Apple has to disclose that. I could be wrong. I think if they're reusing parts, then technically that means that they have to disclose that those are refurb parts. And even if they're just used in otherwise all new hardware. And at that point, that would change a lot of the math in this situation. Not to say that I would blame them for doing that. I think it's actually a good idea. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they'd have to come right out and say, yes, we are using recycled CPUs or something. Um, and since they aren't doing that, my personal theory is what they're doing is uh, either they had an overstock of A18s. That's often what's happening. Or they have the capacity to just keep building A18s, and for various reasons, they're going to keep building A18s for a little while longer. So I think they're just spinning off a crap load of them to also put in the Neo. Um, and that now, having said that, there is the there is the counterpoint where if they're doing repairs, replacements, anything like that, they 100% can use recycled parts for that. They don't have to, I don't think they have to even disclose that. So maybe like the servicing of a Neo when it comes time to like do repairs and stuff like that, um they absolutely could just have like a pool of A18 A18 Pros that they ripped out of phones and maybe ripped out of other Neos or whatever. And yeah, I wouldn't doubt for a second that they could recycle those and just use them as the new chips. Let's see. Apple always brags about how much their devices are using recycled materials, but they're always vague about which bits specifically. Uh, True, but when they're talking about recycled materials, it's literally recycled raw materials. If you're talking about recycled electronics, again, I'm pretty confident they legally have to disclose that this is basically refurb, even if the parts are being reused in a different device. Uh, but to be fair, it's also Apple, so legally required can be a little bit of a sticking point. Um, that being said, I also think it would be a really dumb idea to risk doing that, because if anyone discovered through whatever means that they got a Neo and the chip inside of it had maybe been run for, I'm going to say this sort of jokingly, but maybe not. If someone figured out that they had a chip from an iPhone that had been basically used as like a crypto mining rig or something, um, and that chip was like on the verge of burning out, that that would be pretty devastating to Apple's reputation almost out of the gate. I don't think they want to mess with that. It's just not worth it. Not when they can spin off A18s probably almost for free at this point. Um, it wouldn't have to be recycled A18 Pros. They never specified anything other than core count. I mean, fine, but the point remains. Like, if if it was actually literally just harvested hardware from phones, I'm pretty sure they'd have to disclose it. Uh, yeah, it would be good and cool if they were doing it in some capacity. Um, though I'd much I feel like if you're recycling and there's even a risk that people are getting chips that might be like already close to end of life because of like abusive use, I would at least want some kind of a discount to come with it. Like, you can have the new chip model for 600 if you're willing to take some risks and expect a shorter life. Then we'll sell to you for, I don't know, 525 or something. Whatever whatever price point. That would at least feel a little bit more reasonable fair, less terrible. Whatever. So let's see. Somehow somehow this ended up becoming the actual rambly topic. Not gonna lie, kind of thought it might. Um, really quick, and this definitely, I cannot see any way that this is a topic we're gonna sit on for any length of time. But just to mention it, uh, Jay Garber is stepping down as CEO of Blue Sky. Um, hey Carson, how's it going? So, I let's be honest, nobody cares about this. I just saw it and thought, when it comes to names that people at least are somewhat paying attention to, or like circumstances that are and leadership that people are paying attention to, it is at least worth mentioning this because Blue Sky has taken at least some portion of the uh, social media ecosystem and somewhat dominated it. In the sense of not really dominating it, just being and also ran, but hey, it is what it is. Um, so yeah, she's going to be temporarily replaced by Tony Schneider. He was the former CEO of Automatic, which is the company that owns WordPress. He's also an investor in Blue Sky, so it is what it is. You've never heard of her? Good. And you don't need to. She was basically like Elon Musk light, when Elon Musk was still just figuring out that he was going to be an online troll. Um she's liberal, but maybe not in all the right ways. She's also kind of definitely a troll. So, uh she's okay. Um she's definitely not the worst of the CEOs out there, but she's far from the best. All that being said, she's going to be taking over a position as Chief Innovation Officer, where she's going to apparently be working on new features for Blue Sky, and it's unclear how long she'll be at the company after this. It's honestly kind of unclear why she's stepping down. Um, and yeah, that's about it. I don't think. Um, is it the same guy that caused the whole WordPress fiasco last year? No, that was Matt Mullenweg. Um, and fortunately, he is not in any way, shape, or form involved in Blue Sky. At least not as far as I'm aware. Tony Schneider. Honestly, I know nothing about him. I I just read the part about he was former CEO of WordPress. So, or well, sorry, Automatic. Um so yeah, that's about as much as I could really tell you about him. And he's again only going to be a temporary CEO uh until they find a permanent replacement. So, he may or may not be there for a while. We'll see. At the moment, I'm just assuming there's not a whole lot to say there. But the key thing here is, I think, expect some changes at Blue Sky. Possibly it will become a little bit more corporatized. Um, I think also a fairly good chance it's going to become uh probably a little bit boring. I suspect a lot more rules are going to be popping up fairly soon. That kind of thing would be my guess. Okay, so moving on to our actual news stories. Let's begin with Meta. Oh boy. Meta is claiming that they are rolling out anti-scam features. And the first feature that they will be rolling out is an automatic redirect from all of Facebook and Instagram to Wikipedia. I'm kidding. Of course they're not doing that, because Uh, the biggest scam of all is Meta, and they can't do that. It's not in their nature to help people in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, so this is a thing. They are promising a reduction in scams, um, which is always fun. Um, so the first thing that they're doing is they're going to be supposedly launching some AI tools. Let's see. Yeah, it was here. So they're going to launch some AI tools for identifying impersonators of brands and celebrities, as well as detecting deceptive links, which should quickly help to take down frauds. Um, let's be honest. This is not something you need AI to do. Uh, you didn't need that at all. AI definitely is not necessary for this, but at least not the deceptive links part for sure. That should not require anything at all. Um, and identifying impersonators of brands and celebrities for the most part probably wasn't that tough either, but sure, whatever. Um, I do wonder how much this is a thing, but I will grant I've heard of a lot of fake celebrity stuff popping up, and I could kind of see that. Um, one thing that does sort of bother me is if you look at their state. Well, I'll come back to this. Second, they're adding new alerts to caution against interacting with a potentially fraudulent account. And they say that suspicious friend requests and WhatsApp connections, etc., are a are a source of potential scams. So they are acknowledging that that's a thing. What kind of gets me is when you read through their statement, it really sounds like they're recognizing more the celebrity and brand impersonation, which makes me think that Meta is largely doing this as a I think they're trying to get out in front of lawsuits, because if too many scams are circulating on Meta, either Facebook or Instagram, eventually the celebrities are probably going to start suing Meta. Well, the brands actually more than the celebrities, but whatever. If that becomes a thing, that's really, really bad. Obviously, that is downfall levels of bad if they get too many lawsuits against them for basically just serving scam after scam. I don't think they care as much about random like catfishing, people imitating family members or whatever, trying to activate scams that way. I've I've seen in the past, Meta does not respond to any of that. They don't care. Um, Back when I used to at least use Facebook, I would see people's accounts getting hacked. People that I had on my friends list, and I could report this stuff, like just straight up report straight to Facebook. Hey, here's such and such person's account. I know for a fact that this isn't them. They did not post this, uh, or this message they sent was obviously a scam. Like this is not the person I know. Like I can even talk to this person right now, and I know they did not post or send this. And yeah, Facebook did nothing about those. I don't really believe that they're changing their ways now. So, pretty sure this is more about protecting brands and celebrities than anything else. What is Hoopy? What is a celebrity if not a brand? Um, I'm going to the reason I make that distinction. Yes, I'm actually going to defend this particular phrasing choice. The reason I make that distinction is because you have some celebrities that, yes, are obviously very much brand like. If you're talking about anyone with the last name of Kardashian, or Hilton or whatever, yes, they're absolutely brands as much or more than they are celebrities. Uh, but I'm going to throw the other side of it, where there are celebrities who themselves, frankly, I would not count as a brand. Um, Names that immediately come to mind: Patrick Warburton. Uh, this guy, this guy just likes living quietly in the woods and doing apparently very manly things, because that is his shtick, and that's it. Like, he doesn't run a bunch of sleazy stuff off of his name. He is a celebrity, but to call him a brand feels wrong. So, and the same could be said about, to some extent, people like Bruce Campbell. Um, let's see, Nick Offerman, uh, kind of. I don't know. He's a little bit of a brand, but there are a few that I think can justifiably say that they're really not brands. They're just people who are famous. Um, so let's see. And Hoopy, the whole story smells of the lawyers are worried Disney is going to sue us for AI impersonation scams. Yep, that's exactly what I'm saying. 100%. Yeah. They're they need to they need to prevent uh big companies from getting really mad. That's exactly what this is. And they don't mention it here, but I would also bet most of these are probably going to be aimed more at Facebook Marketplace than they are at Facebook, the social media service. Because Marketplace is a notorious ground for, like, so many counterfeit items, so much junk that like people are using intellectual property from various companies to sell products that have nothing to do with those companies, or things like that. Oh, it's bad. It is famously bad. So I wouldn't be surprised if a big chunk of it is also directed at Facebook Marketplace. Um, okay, so the other line that I found honestly hilarious about this, I'm just going to read it verbatim from Engadget here. Quote, Meta is also continuing to expand its processes for advertiser verification. The company said it aims to have verified advertisers account for 90% of its ads revenue by the end of the year, up from the current share of 70%. Which, to interject quickly, okay, so you haven't verified 30% of your advertisers, but 70% are verified. I get it. That's maybe a little concerning, but it's reasonable. Then we get to the line that's holy crap bad. Quote, last year, Meta estimated that marketing for scams and banned products could have been responsible for 10% of its 2024 revenue. Are you kidding me? 10% of Meta's 2024 revenue. Hold on. What was Meta's 2024 revenue? Let's just get those numbers up on screen. Okay. Total revenue, 164.5 billion. And I know. I'm just grabbing. I'm just letting Google pull up this answer. So there's a chance that this number is hallucinated, but I'm gonna trust them on this. So in theory, somewhere to the tune of 16. Let's round down even. $16 billion came from scams? $16 billion. What the fuck? Are you kidding me? Are you effing kidding me? Meta, if you are benefiting to the tune of $16 billion on scams, you're the scammer. You, as a company, belong in prison. This is a Ponzi scheme. If you're benefiting that much from scams, you belong in prison. You're the guilty party if you're taking in that much money from scams. Someone tell me I'm wrong. I dare you. That is corruption, and that is willful corruption. If you know that there is that much happening and you are taking in that much money, and you have to be knowingly aiding and abetting scams. That's it. I'm sorry. It's a fact. There you go. I will not be taking questions. I think the answers are pretty much right there in front. Oh man, that is not something that they should be admitting to, in at least not in any documented form. Also, it's something that they should probably have to admit to in front of Congress someday, but that probably won't be happening. Okay, so but on that note, that $16 billion had to go somewhere, right? Well, it seems like Meta got scammed out of some amount of money because they just bought, or at least have started the acquisition process of Maltbook. This has to be one of the dumbest things that I've ever heard, so for anyone who doesn't know, and I admit, I don't think I really knew this before, but Maltbook is the name of a social network for AI agents. If you're playing a drinking game right now, I encourage you to speed up. Yeah, this is so stupid it has to be true. Correct. I'm just gonna say it again. If you're playing a drinking game right now, speed up. Maltbook is a social network for AI agents. The idea is that apparently people that make various AI agents will, I guess, register the agent on this network, and it basically enables one AI agent to find another AI agent to help complete tasks or something, I think is the idea. I get it, but it sounds like garbage. So yeah, that like, I don't know, it's hard to say anything more about it than that. It just sounds like garbage. What's kind of even more ridiculous is apparently the creator of Maltbook vibe coded the whole thing, which, yeah, that sounds about right. And apparently they're going to be brought on as what is it? Okay, so the creators, Matt Schlicht, I think it's Schlicht, and Ben Parr are going to be brought on to the Meta Superintelligence Labs unit, which, okay. And I believe they're going to be in product development. I think that's what was said somewhere. Nobody cares. Um, but these clowns somehow have managed to take Meta for some amount of money. So cheers to that, I guess. Um, and now they will run what is effectively another metaverse, which is going to be some sort of overpriced scheme that they will be developing for quite some time that will almost certainly completely and utterly fail. Hooray. Um, let's see, Hoopy. Was talking about this with a friend recently, and they're both pretty sure at this point, like 90% of the agents on Moltbook are just humans abusing the uh, unsecured API. Um, yeah, there was an article also about Moltbook, or yeah, it was an article that highlighted the fact that a whole ton of humans were just able to uh, bypass whatever like security they had and simulate that they were agents, which I'm not really sure how that works anyway. Like, who cares? Um, but yeah, it is what it is. I'm sure that this is gonna. I'm sure they'll eventually implement some sort of minimal curation that ensures at least that an agent will perform whatever action they are purportedly claiming it does. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not really. I still don't really understand Moltbook. Um, I, I, I mean, I get the principle of it, but I'm not really sure how this is supposed to work in any like meaningful way. But to be fair, I'm sure along with vibe coding the entire platform, they also very likely vibe coded its reason for existing. So there's that. Um, yeah, I really didn't have much more to say about this than to make fun of it. So I'll move on. But yeah, I just had to call this out. I really genuinely hope that there is more story to tell about this someday, because this is so stupid. It needs to be made fun of repeatedly on multiple occasions. And I just want to remind everyone, there was a time in history where people thought Mark Zuckerberg was smart. And I'm just going to end on that sentence. So, for a final topic, which is probably going to be the only one that actually lasts any length of time, uh, though maybe not as long as the Neo discussion. Um, See, by the way, everyone, there are times that Corbin and I have been accused of kind of making this a bit of an Apple podcast, and I've never denied that. I've always kind of agreed. It sort of just ended up that way. Uh, but you notice that's that's what that's what had the most conversation. Just saying. I feel like that's the thing a lot of people do at least want to talk about. Apple still is it makes for interesting topics. Anyway, um but it's on the subject of new hardware. We or well, someday new hardware. Let's talk about Project Helix, the which is apparently going to be the next Xbox. Um, so first off, this seems to effectively put to rest, at least currently, it puts to rest any notion that the Xbox won't make it to at least one more console generation. Um, let's see. If the universe wanted this week's episode to not be an Apple podcast, it should have considered that before making Microsoft useless and Google boring this week. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Uh anyway, so yeah, the next Xbox is I mean, look, we knew that there was a next Xbox in the works, but that was with the old leadership. The new leadership has now stepped in and is making statements, and their statements are, at least at the moment, probably pretty good indicators that they aren't changing course on at least this aspect. It sounds like the next Xbox is continuing forward in its current direction. So, what did they confirm? Pretty much the stuff we already knew, or at least had pretty good senses of. It's going to have a custom AMD chip that is, as they say, quote, an order of magnitude increase in ray tracing performance, and that is going to include path tracing, which, great, cool. I guess that's kind of a big deal. They also highlight that this is going to include FSR upscaling technology, which is also going to do frame generation. It's got machine learning tricks in it, blah, blah, blah. So, pretty much, I dare say, all the things I think most of us already, again, kind of expected, because frame generation is quickly becoming the hot technology for getting up to higher resolutions and getting faster frame rates in otherwise very demanding games. By most accounts, it's the one and only thing that kind of can make Borderlands 4 actually runnable. So hey, yeah, that's a thing. They also confirmed, which we already knew because it's been said like 1,000 times, the new Xbox will run both Xbox and PC games. That's not really a big secret. I'm going to come back to that in a moment. But as far as timeline, they also confirmed that they're planning to send alpha versions of Project Helix to developers in 2027. So, realistically, that means they're not anticipating games to be built and running on Project Helix until I'm just going to ballpark here, probably not until at minimum 2028. And very possibly after that. So the next Xbox might not even be a thing till 2029. That means that the current generation is going to have to really, really hold on for quite a while. Just saying. It's going to be a while. And that might not be the worst thing. With RAM prices where they're at, manufacturing costs would obviously be pretty high, especially for something that is apparently aimed at also being able to support supposedly some pretty high-end PC games. So there's a good chance this is gonna just be really, really, really delayed. We'll have to wait and see. So there is one specific quote that I want to go back to regarding the Xbox and PC games are both going to run on this. Which, by the way, they also said something to the effect of that they are also aiming for Xbox games to run on PC. So it's supposed to be kind of a bi-directional thing. Even though, as anyone who's been following the news, you also have heard, they've made comments to the effect of they want to have Xbox console exclusives after all. This is a reverse course to the previous strategy, which was screw the console, let's just get all the games on PC, plus PlayStation and wherever else. That has kind of died down. But anyway, they made a quote that I am just finding so hilariously stupid, which kind of gives away how little they understand about their own market, or at least how much they're trying to lie about how the market works. Quote, and let me see. Yeah. So it's this line here. Um, there it goes. Wouldn't select the first time. Quote, as we spotted outside the keynote, Microsoft wants game developers to build or to just build once for both Windows and Xbox instead of building twice for both. And went on to say it's creating a unified development environment where the vast majority of code that your game runs on Xbox is the exact same code that runs on other platforms. Okay. This wasn't a problem. Not really. It mostly wasn't a problem. Developers were doing this, but not for that reason. So, here's the thing. In many instances, game developers were already using a game engine. A game engine that would compile your code to multiple platforms that could handle this exact task. It was capable of doing this, precisely this. You write the code once in that game engine, and then it can run it on Windows and Xbox and possibly PlayStation and so on and so forth. This problem was already solved. And sure, not for every game, but it was effectively like if you used a game engine, you probably had this issue solved. Um uh The highlighted text amounts to Microsoft wants to make about 7 people on the Unreal team's lives marginally easier. Yeah, maybe. Um, so here's the issue I have with this. Like I said, developers were already doing this, but for a different reason. And it's because of the current generation Xbox. Or rather, Xboxes. The Series S and Series X, they're the same platform. But if you go ask, and there are developers who have come out and admitted this. This is not a weird theory or conspiracy or anything like that. This is just outright confirmed by several different companies. The work they had to do to support the Series X and Series S was way worse than anything they had to do for porting to different platforms. The reason for that is they usually built the game to look good on a Series X and then had to re-optimize all kinds of things, usually graphic quality, in order to get it running on a Series S. That took way more work, way more effort than anything having to do with porting games over to a different platform. Game porting, believe it or not, at least when we're talking within the same generation, is pretty easy. Game porting, when you're talking about like, oh, here's a game that was made back in, the Windows 95 days, and we want to run it on Windows 11, or or an Xbox or whatever. Okay, yeah. At that point, you might run into some different problems. But optimizing, that's real work. You have to do so much to get those things down. And the testing is off the charts. So, yeah. Whatever they think they're solving the wrong problem. And they screwed up again. I know I will keep beating this drum, but they screwed up over and over again by making the choice to make the Series S. That was their mistake. They should have only made the Series X. This has been my TED Talk. Let's see. So Hoopy said, I wonder if this is just supposed to be a little wedge between devs and Steam. Maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say. I think, if anything, the Xbox Play Anywhere catalog, if you'll call it that, but it's really just a store, or a store-like thing. I think that's their attempt to um, block out Steam, and it is attractive that way. But I also think it more or less sort of falls over. Um, but hey, I'm not really the target audience for that, so I don't know. I could easily be wrong there. Um, but yeah, I I get what they're going for. I just think that they're kind of lying to themselves, or at least lying to everyone else. Anyway, so also mentioned 25th anniversary Xbox. They're going to be launching basically a game preservation program, or rather, I guess they already had that, and they're planning to re-release a bunch of old titles. Um, this is going to include apparently a lot of really popular big hit titles that were from like the first generation Xbox, or first and second. Um, I'm sure, as Alyssa would obviously point out, that's going to include Halo. They're doing the remasters this year, and that's surely going to be a big part of it. Um, I'm I don't doubt that if anyone looked over a list of like all of the top Xbox uh, and Xbox 360 titles, you're probably going to find a good probably 100 or so that were like basically like out of the big hits. You're probably going to find about 100, and of those titles you're probably going to find about 50 that are going to get re-released in some capacity, because Microsoft just owns the rights on those games. So it's going to be just a matter of porting them, which notably I feel like it's worth pointing out, I'm talking about porting them from different generation hardware and possibly even remastering. If they're going to do that, that and it's not a huge undertaking, that kind of tells you how much work the porting actually takes. And it's actually the optimizing that for different hardware that was the real problem. Yeah, just saying. Kind of kind of proves my point, Microsoft. If you can re-release a whole bunch of games for new hardware, and it just sort of works. So, with that said, uh, The Verge itself kind of just kept beating around the bush about how much of this will make it to PC, and um, what are the results going to be like? How many games, which they wouldn't answer, stuff like that. Beyond that, not a lot, in my opinion, was really covered. Um, Alyssa, the Valve GDC stuff, I haven't looked at that yet, and obviously that kind of came in at the very tail end. And that's a video, so I'm gonna not watch it on here for I know a lot of times people will do that. I'm going to avoid potential copyright complaints. Um but I'll try to look at that for next week. Um well, the link you shared is a YouTube video. I'm sure there's probably some other stuff, but uh I I'm not going to run the YouTube video. YouTube didn't like you. I don't know what that's about. Um let's see. If I search for red indicator. Okay. Um is I assume this is about the Steam machine. So um here's the first thing that comes up. And that was posted today. Let's see. So, and this is on IGN. Uh, okay. So, um, they released some details about their verification program at GDC 2026. Um, Ah, okay. So yeah, various slides leaked. Um, Much like the Steam Deck, one of the big selling points of the Steam Machine is going to be the Steam Machine Verified program that'll let you know that whether or not a game will run well on the machine. Um, Obviously, like this isn't a new program, so it was pretty obvious that they were going to keep running it. Um, the new requirements: uh, all deck verified games are machine verified. Sure, that checks out. Same input expectations as the deck. They're shooting for 30 frames per second at 1080p for verified. Performance is 6 times the Steam Deck. That isn't surprising. Oh, do I have a Squeakums? I do. Hey, little girl. Elsie came to see me. Hey, honey, how you doing? You're gonna be cute. Okay, you're gonna jump back down. I know. Okay. Do you want to go to sleep down at the feet? I doubt you do. I think you're looking for attention for something else. But I'll move around the feet so you can. What are you getting into? Cats. Anyway, um, let's see. So, cat in stream. Honestly, it could happen. Um, let's see. So, biggest differences from the Steam Deck's verified program is that for a sorry, I wasn't done reading the slide. Not testing display resolution or legibility, which I get that. I understand that decision. I think it's a bad idea, but sure. And an updated API to detect hardware. Okay, sure. Um, are you? She is vaguely eyeing the green screen like she's going to crawl onto it. I'm making a point of not letting that happen. um, let's see. So, okay. So, any game that's verified on Steam Deck already will automatically be verified on Steam Machine. Of course, again, that makes sense. Um, they figure they can say that because the game needs to be able to use a controller 100% of the time to earn the green check mark. Otherwise, I mean, common sense, the specs are just going to be higher, so of course it should run just fine that way. Let's see. Valve is also working on making more games playable on SteamOS as a whole. In the same presentation, the company claims that it's working on improving SteamOS's anti-cheat support, which, as we've discussed in the past, is certainly possible. But how that's going to work is maybe a little questionable. Where do you think you're going, cat? I'm staring at her as I can see the wheels turning, and she is trying to get into trouble. Nope, nope, you're not going there. Nope. You think you're cute and gonna get away with it. That's not how it works. Yeah. Not how it works. Yeah, I'm going to point you that direction. Yeah, you can. Okay. She's sitting just out of reach right now, and I know she's going to come right back over and try to get into something. Um, okay. So, uh, yeah. We're going to 10 p.m. with these cat problems. You never know. Uh, cat stream now. It could happen. Okay, so, um, developers should be able to opt in to bring their anti-cheat programs over to Steam OS, which should allow more competitive games to run on the Steam machine, the deck, or whatever other hardware people choose to install Steam OS onto. Yeah, this sounds good. I'm I'm still a little skeptical. I feel like this is one of those. Steam is probably going to try to talk some companies into it, but whether or not they actually can make it work out, we'll see. Um, and fundamentally, they're still going to basically just have to have. They're going to have to jump through a lot of hoops to really make anti cheat work, and they're going to have to do, I think, a lot of the work for the uh, the anti cheat companies to make that realistic. Um, Technically, Easy Anti Cheat and Battle Eye works on Steam OS. Uh, it's just that Linux people are not kernel level support. Okay. Um, yeah, I don't know. We went over this in sort of excruciating detail a few weeks ago, and I just I can't shake the feeling that they're going to have to do so much of the work for the anti-cheat companies, and even if they do all that work, I don't know that it's going to I don't know that it's going to super fly. It just doesn't feel like something that's necessarily going to work out as well as it sounds like it will. Um, let's see. So, what happened to 4K 60? Valve first showed off the Steam Machine. It made a big deal about it being able to play most games at 4K with 60 FPS as long as FSR is enabled. It's a pretty big footnote there, but okay. Well, it seems like that target is incompatible with the verified program only requiring 1080 at 30 FPS. It actually makes a lot of sense. After all, if you turn FSR to performance mode on a 4K display, the game is going to be rendering at 1080p anyway. Yes, that's technically valid, but sure. Um, it might have been nice to see Valve stick to its marketing and say that the Steam Machine is a 4K 60 machine, but with the GPU being the equivalent of a Radeon RX 7600M. 1080 at 30 is a much easier bar to clear. No kidding. But sure, why not? Steam Machine will probably lose some of the performance upscaling to 4K with FSR, but as long as a game has some breathing room over that 1080p 30, it should have no problem being playable at that higher resolution, even if it isn't the native 4K gameplay that we'd all like to see for a new gaming device in 2026. Either way, unless a game doesn't run on SteamOS or support controllers, these requirements should mean that most PC games should have no problem earning a Steam Machine verified badge, but we'll have to wait for the Steam Machine to actually get here to know for sure. I have a feeling we'll know before that, but we'll see. I think I might not have just, or I think I might have missed it happening, but I think I just heard her crawling around behind the green screen. So yay, that's fun. Hoopy, Helldivers 2 has an anti-cheat system tool that plays nice with the Steam Deck. Cool. Alyssa, I think SteamOS will be an exception to the kernel level anti-cheat thing, as it's aimed at being more approachable. We'll see. I mean, it's still Linux, and it's the locking down of Linux is a messy subject, and it seems like Steam is trying to win sort of a both sides thing, where they're pretending that SteamOS should allow some amount of hacking, but also trying to appease companies that want to have anti-cheat. And those two things aren't necessarily super compatible, but who knows? We'll see. Let's see. Arc Raiders is insanely popular right now and supports Linux with the anti-cheat. Wonder how much anti-cheat will actually matter. Valve knows better than anyone what % of gamers actually engage with incompatible games. Yeah. I mean, strictly speaking, we could interpret some of those numbers off of Steam's player, like live player counts. But I think there's probably a lot to be said for, there's some number of players that don't realize or know about anti-cheat, and it just sort of happens. There's another group of players who I think actively avoid it, and some group of players that at least know it and understand it, but they don't care, they don't mind it. Or more likely, they run machines that are dedicated to gaming, so they don't mind running an anti-cheat on those games or on those machines, but they would never do it on, let's say, a machine where they work. So it mixed bags. Let's see. This is 1080p or 1440p at 60, 120 with FSR. It's supposed to be plugged into it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're necessarily going to see something like 120. In theory, we should, but the way they're talking about it, it sounds kind of like that's not what the specs are aiming for. Do you really, if you're not trying to capture the whole market, do you really care if a big game every year or two never comes to SteamOS? I mean, they obviously know that not every game's going to come to SteamOS. That's a given. It's just not going to happen. But I do kind of think they care. I think they still look at it and recognize, like, they're going to miss some of them, but what about the ones that they don't have to miss? And I think that's the issue. I think if Valve is sitting there going, hey, we sold however many copies of such and such game, but no one gets to play it on Steam OS, and we know that there's such and such percentage of Steam OS users, at what point do they go, you know what? We probably did just lose like $500,000 in sales on a game or something like that, whatever the number is. That's not great. Um, would people that would care be buying a value system? Hard to say. I think I think you'd be surprised how many people might. Um, let's see, and some people might give it a shot as their first entry into PC gaming. Some people might care about competitive multiplayer games. Oh yeah, of course, there's definitely going to be like every market is made up of a wide variety of people with a wide variety of reasons for wanting whatever. Um, Corbin and I have both obviously lamented and discussed almost to absurd levels how much we have reasons for why we've chosen consoles in a lot of instances. And I mean, it makes sense for a lot of people, but it doesn't make sense for everybody. Likewise, there are scenarios where uh, really certain games or certain users are obviously going to want to go PC for assorted reasons, but that doesn't mean that they can't also have consoles or uh, use a console for some games while a PC for others, stuff like that. Um, and so and obviously, like if you're into competitive games, a lot of times you want to really go mouse and keyboard, even uh, even if competitive is split up for console versus mouse and keyboard. Um, let's see. Well, it said Gen Alphas are into PC gaming because of streamers. PC gaming was at an all-time high in 24 and 25. Uh, Possibly true. I don't think PC gaming went away though, or even necessarily lost that big of a percentage. I think every generation is um still just always going to have kind of different, just an almost randomized mix of people. And given the price of building a decent gaming rig, um, depending on timing of when people were buying, I think there's a surprising percentage of again every generation that is also console gaming, just because it was a lot cheaper. Um, let's see, Hoopy. I think if Valve thought this was a priority, we'd see them getting into the game server hosting business to offer serviceable tools and design guidance to make client anti cheat less useful. Certainly possible. Um, they're big and influential enough that they could make a real industry impact in how multiplayer games are technically designed if they wanted to invest that time and money. Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, Valve can pull a lot of levers to sort of encourage or push whatever they feel like is a good strategy. Um, let's see. Uh, okay, yeah. So I don't know. I don't. It's tough to want, or it's tough to speculate too much on this because I think Valve. right now is kind of in that spot where they'd love to see, obviously, everyone would like to see some growth of the or some growth of SteamOS, sure, but just generally speaking, anything that changes the gaming landscape would kind of be a good thing right now. Um, and in some cases, that means opening up uh, more PC games to be played on console, opening up more console games to be played on PC. Um, Obviously, different forms of crossplay. Obviously, different PC operating systems. I'm sure Valve would prefer if everyone just dropped what they were doing and decided they were going to be um uh playing playing games that they bought through Steam, preferably on a Steam machine when it comes out. Um but I think they're perfectly happy if they get their sales to PC players that are playing on a home rig. I don't think Steam really cares that much about that difference. They're happy to make that money, but I don't think they care. Not appreciably. Okay. So, um my voice is starting to hit its limits, which is actually a little earlier than usual, but not by that much. I don't think it's by that much. Yeah, I'm thinking it's a good stopping point because I'm out of topics. There's not a whole lot left to say on this. Actually, I think it actually outlasted what I expected. Um, so yeah, I'm thinking probably a good time to stop. I'm going to take a break and uh, take care of a couple of other things, and probably set up the I picked up I picked up the coverlet instead of the Pixel 10 Pro XL box. It arrived earlier today, as I said in Discord. I did not have time to do anything but remove the lid. So literally the paper is still on the phone. I haven't even taken it out of the box yet. So you're seeing, first time being lifted from the box. And of course, the most important part, I got a new USB cable, folks. Live stream the unboxing later. You've seen it. Like, that was the whole thing. that's that's the problem with phone unboxings now, is they're just really, really unimpressive. Um, but I got it unlocked. There's no reason to get it with a specific service. At least with the particular deal. Um, like if if that code would have worked with Google Fi, I would have used it with Fi. 100,000% I would have gone with Fi, because Fi's deal would have been better for me to just say screw trading in the phone. I would actually get more value from reselling the Pixel 8 Pro, or sorry, Pixel 9 Pro. Um, wasn't sure what eSIM I was going with. Uh, I'm going to. I haven't fully decided on this, but I think. Yeah, it really haven't decided on this. Actually, I will quickly. I'll quickly cover this because this is maybe a little interesting to some people. So, I am still using. Uh, there are two phones that I use with fairly heavy regularity. Uh, this one right here is the Pixel 7 Pro, and this one is the Pixel 9 Pro XL. This is oops. of course, as I accidentally turn on the flashlight. Okay. Obviously, this phone is getting traded in, so it will be replaced by this pimp fairly soon. Anyway, I have Google Fi on this phone, AT&T on this phone. Um, I'm still perfectly comfortable using AT&T, which is where I get more calls, though I'd argue I don't really get a lot of calls. Um, anyway, so I am using both phones. I am both using both lines. Um, and does it really matter? I mean, no matter what, the Google Fi line is going to remain active, and the AT&T line is going to remain active. Actually, Google Fi, though, I am kind of toying with the idea of maybe uh, turning that off for a while so I can save some money. But yeah, uh, the AT&T line is staying no matter what. So the thing I'm considering is basically if I can take trying to think of how to phrase this. I'm debating on whether or not I want to turn the Pixel 10 Pro into my main carry phone, or do I use it as like the secondary phone, which is also going to be my primary phone for like photo stuff. Photo and video are going to happen more on that phone. And the factor that plays in kind of heavily here is I really want a phone that, like, if I want to, I can set it up to record video, and a separate phone, which is going to be the one that I could take a call on or do stuff with during that time. So logically, it makes a lot more sense to keep Google Fi on the phone that's newer and has better cameras. And the phone that is basically just there to take calls and do a few other things, that's the one that I'd probably be more likely to leave on AT&T. So, yeah, that's kind of where I'm sitting at with this one. Um we'll see, but yeah, that's kind of the thought process. Um let's see. And I haven't checked. This phone does have a SIM card, right? I got to admit, I actually did not check that. Um it's eSIM only? Okay. Well, I guess in that case it's almost certainly going to be in the US. It's so lame. I really hate that they're doing that. That this is such a bad experience for users or for customers. But whatever. So yeah, in that case it's almost certainly going to go Project Fi, because the last thing I want to have to do is contact customer service to move it between lines, and the AT&T service, I want to be able to throw that into different phones if the need arises. Uh, and I just imagine that being something that Fi makes a little more convenient, but I could be wrong. Um, let's see. Alyssa got a MagSafe Qi 2 mount or whatever for that. Um, actually, coincidentally, which I've got a few. Maybe I'll mention a couple of other things here. So coincidentally, I did just get a a Qi 2 wireless car charger. So I do have one. And I got that from Amazon Vine. truthfully, I don't think it pushes anywhere near the necessary wattage to be a like fast charger, a fast wireless charger. But hey, what it is what it is. I'm not going to get too caught up on that. Um let's see. Okay. Um so yeah, it's an okay wireless charger, but not my favorite. Um if I get a chance, I'm going to watch Vine and see if a Pixel appropriate charger ever comes up, but I don't really think it will. Um Also kind of unrelated but fairly soon, I'm going to update the website again with a few products that I've had actually some surprisingly good experiences with that came out of Vine. Not, leading that group is actually going to be, of all things, and I kid you not, this sounds ridiculous to say, but a watch band. I I've only been wearing it for a few days, but I found a watch band that I'm really loving. Um and I will link it on the website later today. I should have done this ahead of time. I only wrote the Amazon review for it yesterday. Or wait, maybe it was this morning. Yeah, I think it was this morning. Um and I've been I so yeah, I haven't been wearing it super long, like I said, about a week. Um but yeah, this watch strap is shockingly good. I'm actually really happy with it, but I feel like I want to give it a little longer before I commit to really recommending it. But it's uh it's a fabric strap, kind of works a little differently than most of the fabric straps. Like every fabric strap I've ever used, it's just one long strap that loops around a piece of plastic. This is two pieces, but one piece just slides through a loop, and it's magnetized. Nothing special. You've seen this before. Um, but the beauty of this thing is you don't have to get it tight, like tight. You just get it to the level that it is comfortable on you, and it doesn't slip from that tightness level, or it doesn't slip from that position. So, it's not on like super tight or anything. It's not cutting off circulation, but because of the way that the strap like locks in here. Oh, hold on. Let me see. I didn't. Yeah, I should have had that view this whole time. The way that it's magnetized on, like there is just no slippage. I you know I can I can pull like really hard and get it to slip open, but that's about it. Otherwise, like it's easy enough to just get tight again, and it's comfortable. And obviously different opinions can exist about this, but I feel like it's one of the best looking straps that I've also had. So, um yeah, I'm going to include a link to it. It's a $20 strap. It's not super cheap like a lot of them, but hey, it's cheaper than a lot of others. So, yeah, I've been really happy with this strap. And it's fabric, so it's breathable. Um it feels really durable. The lugs are metal, which, look, I've had a few straps now that have plastic lugs. They break. Plastic is a terrible idea on watch lugs. So yeah, I'm just saying, absolutely horrible that that any watch lugs ever have plastic, or that any of them are made of plastic. These being made of metal, it doesn't feel like it's particularly high quality metal, but I mean it's metal, and with the strap not getting super tight, it's not going to like cause them to break down or anything. So yeah, again, like I said, I've been pretty happy with this. Um, why am I? Oh, weird. I just saw buffering on my own stream. Uh, and you usually don't like the third-party generic lug connector. Are you talking about the like proprietary connector? Like how well does it slide in? Is that what you're asking about? Because I mean, it's in my experience, it's not too bad. I haven't had any of them. I haven't had any that really bother me, but I will admit it's like maybe not the easiest to slide in, but it's pretty close. Like I don't think it's bad by any stretch. Um, but yeah, just it's so easy to throw on. It's smooth. It doesn't loosen up. That's the thing I hate about fabric straps. Every fabric strap I've ever tried throughout the day. Um, I have where's the one that I was just using? Um, it is. I know it's somewhere here on the desk. Got a bunch of things all kind of laying out a little haphazardly right now. Did I move it? Oh, there it is. Okay, with fabric straps like this, the thing I hate is that they all have this mechanism right here that you have to like slide along and it just grips the fabric. And, obviously it's got a loop around up here that a magnetic piece latches onto. I hate these things because they always loosen up throughout the day. Like if you wear this strap at all tight, even a little bit, it's going to slip. I hate them. Um, let's see. A yeah, I have a metal band that I have not tried yet. That also came out of Vine. I'm gonna give that one a shot, but I haven't given it any time yet. But I want to. Um, that's actually a surprising price for a metal band. Surprised that it's your favorite so far. Um, oh, and it's wait, Black Pro. Hold on. I think that's the same company that makes this fabric strap. Hold on. I got to check this. Um, that'd be hilarious if it's exactly the same. Yep, it's the same company. That's awesome. uh, okay. Let's get the where's oh, wait, hold on. Pull this up in the correct window. Um, okay. So, here's the link to the strap and um oops. Okay. So, here is the strap on Amazon. So, yeah, we're in agreement on this. I think Black Pro might actually just be the best company making Pixel Watch straps. Um, let's see, Alyssa. You use an active band for runs and metal band for everything else. Just wish Google came out with 43 millimeter Pixel Watch. Because you're in between 41 and 45. Um, I'm using a 41. I could get away. I'm sure I could get away with a 45. But part of it is, I don't know. Part of it is I just don't. feel the need to spend the extra money on the 45. Part of it is, I don't know. I don't necessarily know that I want to go to something that's that much larger. I haven't decided. What I really need to do is just actually try one on and see if I like it. Uh, and who knows? I could be an almost instant convert where I immediately need to go to it, um, or I might just be like, nope, it sucks. Uh, but hey, I'll get there eventually. I'll find out. But yeah. Um, but yeah, I do see your point. A 43 would probably be kind of nice. I just can't really commit myself to it. Um, but yeah, like I said, I've been such a fan of this strap for the short time that I've been using it. I'm like it's it's the first time where I'm wearing a watch strap and thinking, "Oh, hey, I don't mind that I'm wearing it." Like it never feels too tight. It's it feels more secure than any of the other straps that I've used that try to be clever about their designs. The only thing that I have not been in love with is if you're wearing long sleeves, like a sweater or shirt or anything like that. If you pull the sleeve up, if it catches even slightly on this on this end right here, it will just promptly like pull the whole thing right off. And okay, it ironically it is snapping back into place here, but if you're pulling up your sleeve, it's not going to do that. And that can cause it to come loose. The thing is though, like when it comes loose, because there is this loop here, it can't get any looser than this. Like this is as loose as it goes. So, you know, like it as long as my hand is just open and I'm not trying to squeeze out of it, it's going to get caught on my hand. So it's not going to fall off easily. So, yeah, so far again, like everything about this, it's not necessarily the most secure strap ever. It's not necessarily a the most comfortable strap ever. It's not necessarily the most attractive strap ever, but it's kind of hitting all of those very close to the best. And seeing as every other strap I've ever tried or seen is very appreciably bad in one of those areas, I'll take something that is really good but not the best in any area as long as it isn't terrible in one of the others. Like that's kind of where I'm standing on this. Is it's pretty good in every sense. And that has been my my high praise of it so far. Um it's really funny that we just kind of accidentally happen to both be pointing to the same company. So yeah, and I just realized I did that whole demonstration of this thing with the wrong screen up, but hey, that is what it is. Um okay, so now that I have shilled for buying something through Amazon with my affiliate link, which by the way, that's what that was. Um I will as always shill for the classic if you'd like to help support the channel in some way, shape, or form. And you're going to be buying anything through Amazon. Click through my links, buy stuff. It helps out the channel and doesn't cost anything extra for you, but beyond the price of the product. Um, Also, if you'd like to help support the channel, there are links down below to Cash App, Streamlabs, and Patreon. Yeah, see how I snuck that in there? Almost as if it was elegant. Um, let's see. You pay with your watch a lot. You know, I have not done that in ages. I did it back when I reviewed. I think it was the first watch that shipped with NFC. I forget what it was called, but I like how everyone's got into the good nights as I keep talking. Um, but when I reviewed the first watch that came with NFC, I I tried it out and I did use it several times. And I think I've used watch payments like maybe 2 times after that watch and probably never since. Like it just never happens anymore. Um your dad had a silver Rolex with a silver metal link band, which yeah, silver metal links. I love them. It's a look that I just can't feel like cannot go wrong. He didn't splurge on much, but as a corporate man, uh, it was a worthwhile investment. Um, so a metal chassis and silver metal link band rubbed off on you. I honestly, I have a from a past relationship. Um, I was given a Tag Heuer watch as a gift, and I still like the watch. It doesn't get treated particularly well these days. It's sitting in a spot where it just kind of is wasting away. But yeah, it has metal links, great looking watch. I kind of miss it because it was genuinely like really good jewelry. Um, which is something that I feel like most smartwatches don't get right. They don't look usually they don't look like jewelry, which is a bit of a shame. I think that's kind of part of what watch culture is missing. Um, it wows normies when you pay with your watch. Really? Does it? Like I feel like the Apple Watch has trained enough people that it's just a thing that normies by now you'd think would just assume every watch can do that. I don't know. I guess maybe not, but it feels to me like that's one of the things that the Apple Watch kind of just normalized is, oh yeah, your watch can pay for stuff. But hey, I don't know, maybe not. Um uh let's see. So, yeah, I think that about covers it. So, trying to think if there was any other random bits to babble about, but I don't think so. So, yeah, with that, thanks to everyone for coming by, hanging out, and being in the chat with me. This did end up being a 2 hour stream. Who would have thunk it? The RambleCast would go over its predicted time. It's almost as if uh this show does not have any sort of plan. Um let's see. Pixel devices detect the NFC reader at certain terminals better than the OnePlus 9 did. I would say the Pixel devices in general, yeah, were always a lot better with NFC. Um at least that's been my experience with them. But yeah, anyway, let's see. So I will be back this weekend with some Overwatch. Um and possibly other things, possibly not. We'll see what happens. And then, of course, next week there will be a RambleCast. Corbin should be around for that one. And that's pretty much about it. So thank you all for coming by and hanging out, and I'll catch you in the next one. Good night, everybody.